So let me get this straight. You all got mad at Ice Cube because he met with Trump about reparations. You all got mad with Ice Cube because he met with Trump about reparations. The Democrats have told us no since the beginning. The Democrats have said no. The Democrats have said no. But you got mad at Ice Cube for meeting with Trump to talk about reparations for black people. Here go to Cole Park. He didn't offer Trump nothing. The first offer on the table was $500 billion. He didn't offer Trump nothing. And the first offer was $500 billion. What are we talking about? I keep telling you all that y'all making this thing personal, and it's not. We are too emotional. You all got mad at Ice Cube because he met with Trump about reparations? I don't understand it.
So we are going to have to do a lot of things different as a black community. We have to pool our resources. We have to think about ourselves. You know, we love all the other races of the world, but at some point we got to figure out how do we get ahead, because everybody's on top of us but us, or everybody's on top but us. And the shit ain't gonna work. We ain't gonna survive this the way it's going. It's just designed that I can't see the future. So we gotta change this shit. Everybody's been mad at me because I haven't been on the fucking, you know, the gravy train of these candidates, you know, especially Joe Biden and Harris.
Both parties contacted him, but the Democrats, you know, the ones that are supposed to be on your side, they told Cube, we'll discuss that little black American whatever contract with you later, after we get elected, which is essentially the meme that you're looking at on your screen right now. That's what that means.
If you don't get reparations, black folk, you're through in this country. Let me be that very specific for you. You see, what's happening to black Americans is that black Americans have been systematically, socially engineered into the lowest level of a real-life monopoly game. You do not own and control a sufficient amount of anything to be competitive in America. And you've been marginalized now for 400 years. You're getting ready to be buried. You can get buried underneath a whole broad groups of ambiguous groupings. That's everything from culture groups, language groups, and gender groups. You're going down. It's no longer an issue. You better get reparations and get it fast. Now, to get reparations, one of the things I've been trying to do now for 30 years, beginning with the state of Florida, when Governor Reuben Askew put me over education, when they had no blacks in politics in Florida, was to write the first affirmative action plan in the United States, and that was written to be reparations for black folk in 1971. And George Bush Jr., I guess, what's his name, Jed Bush, just killed it off about 6 months ago.
You all are that lost? You all honestly think that Joe Biden ain't racist? You all honestly think that Joe Biden is not racist? You all honestly think that Kamala Harris is not racist? These people said no to specifically black people. They said no to black people. Ice Cube met with Trump and the first offer was $500 billion with nothing. What did he offer Trump? Nothing.
What I want you to do is take a really good look at the 2016 exit polls and take a look at who voted for who by race. Now, which group gave the Democratic Party a super majority? I'll repeat that again. Which group gave the Democratic Party a super majority? Because you see, I don't want to hear anything about how fewer black voters turned out in 2016 versus how many came out in 2012, because regardless of that, black voters still played their part by making sure the Democrats received a super majority. Now, if all the other groups would have actually played their part, then Trump wouldn't be in office right now. But they didn't, and they never do. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, then let's take a look at the exit polls from the last 4 elections from 2016 to 2004. Other groups never, ever, ever play their part. But look at who always stays loyal.
Be skeptical of anybody telling you to vote and not telling you to ask for anything or to tell you to just vote and not to get anything for your vote. That's not how it works. That's not the process. You don't vote just to vote. You vote because you're getting something or your community is getting something. So everybody that's telling you that, man, look at them and say, what are you getting? Because people that just want you to vote and not ask for nothing, people that's in power that want you to vote but don't want you to get anything or not asking for you to get anything economically, they suspect.
Black people don't vote Republican. Black people don't vote Republican. So if Trump is offering black people anything, it's no incentive attached to it because we don't vote Republican. We do not vote Republican. We're talking about him getting less than 5% of the black vote. Come on, man. What are we talking about? Y'all are too emotional. You all are too You all got mad at Ice Cube because he met with Trump about reparations for black people? And the first offer on the table was $500 billion? You mean to tell me Trump done offered him $500 billion with nothing in return? And y'all are mad at Ice Cube? And y'all honestly think the Democrats aren't racist? If the Republicans are racist, then the Democrats are racist. If the Democrats are racist, then the Republicans are racist. What are y'all doing? You've let these folks convince you all. You've let white people convince you all that they know who's racist and who's not. Keep in mind, this whole narrative is fueled by white people in power.
So putting our hopes and dreams behind any of them just don't work. We gotta make them do what we want them to do. And there's only a few ways to do that. Now, I've been making contacts, trying to, talk about these real issues, straight up, I believe the Democrats they've been nice, they've been cordial, so to speak. I don't really see them pushing their policies in any different direction. They're still talking this minority, people of color shit that don't necessarily include us, that don't necessarily include black Americans, especially descendants of slaves, ADOS. American descendants of slaves.
What's happening now is that what I'm trying to do is create a Harvest Institute that would try to take all my colleagues here and as much as possible try to give you new points of information to take you outside the box. Part of the problem we got in trying to deal with reparations, a lot of the other racial issues in the country, is that we keep trying to think and find solutions inside the box. There are no solutions inside the box for black folk. You got to get outside and try to find them and get a long-term perspective and a long view on it. And that's what the Harvest Institute is in existence for, and that's what they're going to stay in existence for. Now, the reason you cannot win, as I said, is that you've been locked into this low level of a real-life monopoly game. You do not own and control enough of wealth. See, in 1860, for instance, black folk, as a direct result of slavery, had an ownership. When you were 98% slaves, you had an ownership of 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. Now, this is the richest country in the world, the most capitalistic country in the world. And here you are 140 years after slavery when you're supposedly 100% free and you still only have 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth.
So they're telling you who's racist and who's not. Y'all are that emotional. How are we going to make it? If we are this emotional, how are we going to make it?
It doesn't matter how far back you go. We stay loyal, and that's the problem. Because while you're always playing your part for the greater good of everyone else, everybody else is playing for their own interest and to what makes the most sense for them. So if you want to know why we keep losing, that's why. Because we are the only ones playing our part while everybody else does what's in the best interest for them.
So, I think the Democrats, they got every black celebrity and shit on their team, so they just figure, tell Q to shut the fuck up and vote. And so, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna push the program. We got a program, I'm pushing it on everybody. We also met with the Republicans and shit. They brought us in. We talked to them. They've moved their agenda a lot because of what we said. They put $500 billion on the table, and but who knows? Who knows what's gonna really happen? I just know one of them gonna win, and I don't know if it can really matter to us. We gotta just push whoever is in there, because ain't nobody really solved our problem.
You cannot compete. The typical average white person in America has 3,500 times more money than you have. And that's not true only of blacks in America, it's true of the world internationally. What's happening right now is blacks is a marginalized, subordinated class of people all over the earth. You have 1/2 of 1% of the wealth in this nation. The same thing is true all over the world. In the world, there's approximately $392 trillion worth of wealth on the earth. And black folk around in the world have less than 1% ownership of it. That includes all the African countries, that includes Brazil, Caribbean, and America. You don't own enough control of anything. Whites control almost 100% of all the wealth, power, resources, privileges, and controls of all levels of government. You're playing a game you can't win. You got to get reparations. Now, how are you going to get it?
You know what's funny? Trump could have a reparations plan. I mean, Trump could have a plan that says, I'm going to give you all land. I'm going to give you all money. I'm going to give you all free education, free health care, the whole shebang. And Joe Biden will offer us nothing on reparations, and you all would still vote for Joe Biden. Trump could actually say, I'm going to give you all reparations, and you all would say, I still want to ride with Joe Biden. You all would still ride with Joe Biden. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is telling you to your face, I'm not going to do anything for you, but I'm going to do everything for everybody else.